You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Rays podcast. My name is Ulises Sambrano and Kevin Weiss, who will be on later on the episode. We are the hosts of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Be sure to subscribe and follow us and the show on any social media platform and podcast platform, especially on YouTube. We keep growing the community, and we really like when we see those like on the videos, and that was very redundant. And hit that subscribe button. And you have to know that this episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. You know what was guaranteed? A fun time for Rays fans this weekend against the Seattle Mariners. We said that this series, if you came out with a split of a 4-game, with the Mariners, you would be okay. Like that's a hot team right now. That's been really playing great baseball since the All-Star week. And then the Rays come out a little bit flat on Thursday. They lose 1-0, but they lose 1-0. They had the game at any chance to bring it back for a W. Littell gave 8 strong innings, like we mentioned on Friday's episode. But then the Rays on Friday, they came back. That late explosion on the 7th inning with the Pinto home run, and Harold Ramirez goes deep, and Isaac Paredes goes deep as well for his 29th at the time. Just tremendous stuff from the offense that you really like to see, especially against good pitching, and the Mariners do have that. So they win that game 7-4. Then on Saturday, what an exciting game. I was at this game for Venezuelan Heritage game day, and someone got me tickets for it. Thank you so much. You know who you are. Thank you so much. I had a fantastic time. And what a game to be present at the Trop. It starts kind of funky, with Savali not being his best self, and you're down 4 really early. But the Rays just kept, good at bats coming on. They kind of chipped away. They finally take the lead. And then, Basabe, unfortunately, on Venezuelan Day, he has an error, and then the run ends up scoring. Pinto also has kind of an error there to not being able to locate that ball from Stevenson, which I have to believe that's one of the most anxiety-filled moments for a ball player, is when you're a catcher and you don't see where the ball has gone after a wild pitch or a pass ball. Like, that must be just one of the top anxiety moments. Another one I think would be you make a diving catch in the outfield and it's not a catch and the ball just skips by you. And then you're just running back to get it. That must be another anxiety-filled moment for a ball player. But yeah, Rene Pinto unfortunately could not locate it in time with Stevenson. And Stevenson did his job. We can't fault him for that. And then Kevin Cash does a really good move, which is, hey, I'm not gonna let Brandon Lau face a lefty when I have Mr. MVP Yandy Diaz, almost batting title champ of this year if it weren't for Corey Seager making a run at it. That I'm not gonna just leave Yandy on the bench. And that was such a good move, and it paid off immediately there with a hit, and then ultimately in a position where with Taylor Walls at first and being able to swing away, he did, and an Oppa home run, just fantastic stuff. Yandy, you can't say enough about Yandy Diaz is for his career with the Rays, and especially this year. I mean, just such it's so fantastic to see a guy that signs a contract and then has a career year. Not the opposite. We've seen that many times. Career year, you sign the contract, and then they're a shell of themselves. I can definitely think of Alex Gordon when that is mentioned. If you don't know who Alex Gordon is, look him up. But yeah, no, fantastic to see Yandy just having such a great time with his season and becoming a father and the All-Star selection for the first time and being a starter and then hitting a home run, running for the batting title champion. Like it's just fantastic. So he wins it on Saturday with that walk-off. Nothing better than a walk-off victory. And then on Sunday, the boys just put up very solid 6-3 win. And, you know, Josh Lowe had a pretty good game. Zach Eflin, just a solid start, you know, nothing fancy. But the bullpen is as solid as it has been in 2023. Like, this is the type of Rays bullpen that I was asking for earlier in the season, and we were not getting. Now, this is the type of Rays bullpen that we are accustomed to and that we should always have the standard for, because we've shown, or rather the front office has shown that they can do this, that they can pick players to do that. And that's exactly what they are now doing. And that is a fantastic, new update for who the Rays are in 2023. And I want to highlight somebody from the bullpen. But right now I got to tell you something else, which is game time. Okay. Game time. You guys know that it can be very stressful when you're trying to buy tickets. You know, it's last minute. You're hunting down the best price. You don't know what to do. Well, guess what? Game Time is the place for last minute ticket sales. You don't have to plan months in advance. You can get exclusive flash deals on the tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and much, much more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. In fact, if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, guess what? Game Time will credit you with 110% of the difference. So today, snag the tickets without the stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. If you're on YouTube, please make sure to hit that like button. When you do that, more and more Rays fans that do not know about the show will be made aware of what we can provide on the interwebs. So please hit that like button and let's get that community to keep growing and growing. We're over 1,300 subscribers, so that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. The guy I want to highlight, if you're on YouTube, you already know who I'm going to talk about. It's Shawn Armstrong. Look, this guy, he's had such a tremendous path to who he is. Drafted in 2011, he was picked in the 18th round. So overall, he was picked 548th. 548th. And this guy has persevered since his major league debut in 2015. 10 innings here, 20 innings here, 40 innings here. He's been able to jump from Cleveland to Seattle to Baltimore to the Rays, then to Miami, and then back to the Rays. And he has just been phenomenal for this team this year and last year as well. But I mean, this year he's been incredible. He starts the year on the IL, and he was one of the, when Shawn Armstrong is going to come back, this bullpen is going to be strong, which, you know, fair enough. It has happened that way, but it was rather optimistic because you don't know how a guy is going to come back from an injury like his. And, you know, he made his debut on June 4th, and he has just been incredible. 44 and 2/3 innings in 2023, a .83 whip. Yum. .82 ERA, a 2.03 FIP. Just fantastic. He's striking out guys at a 28% clip. Hello. And then walking guys less than a 5% clip. So he's just who you want to have to give the ball in a close game, knowing that he can strike people out and he's not going to get himself in trouble with walks. He's just the right guy. In fact, in his last 21 innings, he struck out 23 dudes, only allowing 3 walks and 2 runs allowed. Just a tremendous stretch right now by Shawn Armstrong with 44 innings plus. It's really remarkable because now you're looking into a little bit more than less than a month of season left, around 18 games. Can he sustain this for 18 games plus the playoffs? Because if he can, you really feel good about the type of slot that he's the perfect, think of Andrew Miller in the playoffs. He's the perfect guy that you can slot in there for 2 innings when you need him. If you look at his game logs, 16 of his 31 games have been longer than 1 inning. 1 1/3, 1 2/3, 2 innings, more than 2 innings. So that means that 52% of the time, he's giving you more than 1 inning of work. Terrific. Just the type of guy that you want. And 12 of his 31 games, that's 38%. 38% of his games, he's gone 2 innings or more. So if you just grab that, 2 innings or more, that's 38% of his workload this year. This is the guy that you want to slot in there for the playoffs when you might need a guy to bridge from the 4th, 5th inning if, pitch count got somebody into trouble, or you want to just kind of bridge that to Pete Fairbanks because you don't really have Jason Adam available or Stevenson pitched the day before. Those type of situations that you do get to see in the playoffs, which are maddening and stress-filled. This is the guy that you would feel comfortable with giving the ball. But if you have to, I want to hear you in the comments on YouTube. Who do you feel the most comfortable right now in the bullpen? Is it Pete Fairbanks? Is that your most trusted reliever? Is it Shawn Armstrong? Is it Robert Stevenson, Jake Diekman, Colin Poche? I want to hear who you guys think you could give the ball to and put your feet up. That's what I want. When you think of, hey, you're Kevin Cash, you're giving the ball to somebody, who do you think the most, you know what? I'm going to get myself a drink. I'm going to put my feet up. I don't have to worry about it because this guy has the ball. Who is that guy for you? Let it be known in the comments below. Hey, perhaps we can ask that to Kevin Weiss and see what he thinks. I have an inkling it could be a guy that has crazy eyes, but you never know with Kevin. Kevin always throws a curveball here and there. Before we get to hear from Kevin, though, we got to tell you about Sleeper. Okay, Sleeper. The MLB playoffs are around the corner, people, and it's going to be very exciting. And now, guess what? If you go and download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDON, you will get $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions will apply. Of course, you have to know Sleeper. You can do anything basically that you want with their prop bets. Baseball has stats like Acuna, Betts, and Ohtani. Well, you can pick on any stat for these stars, like home runs, hits, strikeouts, anything you think of, you can do that. And guess what? You get 100 times the payout on Sleeper. So get your picks right, and you could win big. So again, use promo code Locked On, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's term for use of details. Download Sleeper today.
Well, that's a fun question and comment from Ulises there. I'd really be curious to see what the audience has to say. I would say generally, Shawn Armstrong, it's really difficult to not give him kudos and credit for what he's done. this entire season. And the numbers certainly speak for themselves, from the ERA to the WHIP to everything else tied into that. As for a save situation, ninth inning, I'd still most likely have to go with Pete Fairbanks, assuming that he's not pitching in cold weather, because he's a been there, done that guy. He's a guy that's been most accustomed to that role and that situation. And getting those last 3 outs, much different than getting 3 outs in the 6th inning, the 2nd inning, the 1st inning, the 8th inning, whatever it may be. And Pete Fairbanks is the de facto closer. He is the closer. So if we're talking strictly 9th inning, I would still have to go with him. And to his credit, he has been really, really solid for the month of September. August, not so much, but September, he's got 13 strikeouts and 5 2/3 innings and 4 saves already to his name. And there's been multiple outings where he struck out the side there. Now, when the weather gets a little chilly, that's going to have to be a conversation to bring up again, maybe. One other thing I want to touch on before we get to a brief series preview with the Twins, I saw an interesting stat that Major League Baseball, or across Major League Baseball, there has been 3,000 stolen bases already this season. It's the first time that's happened since 2012. And we still have, 3 weeks to go in the regular season. So there's going to be a lot more stolen bases coming that way. But clearly, the rules changes and the gameplay changes have made a tremendous difference in getting the action and activity level buoyed, with the pitch timer, the limited disengagements, the larger bases. We've seen it across the board. So it's good to see. We keep talking about, hey, we want more excitement and more big time moments. And the stolen base lends itself to doing that. It also lends itself to maybe placing more value on catchers and their athleticism and getting in and out of stances and making the strong, accurate throws. And of course, pitchers being able to go from wind up to delivery to home plate more swiftly as well. And I know last week we talked about the number of Rays players who have 20 plus home runs or could surpass 20 plus home runs. Well, the Rays also have the speed and stolen base component as well, because they've got a lot of guys that have put up some really good numbers there. Of course, thou who shall not be named, Wander Franco, I just named him. He's got 30 stolen bases in 112 games. Josh Lowe, 28 stolen bases. Randy Arozarena, 22 stolen bases. Taylor Walls, 22. He's actually one of the biggest increasers in stolen bases from last year to this year, going from 10 to 22. Other guys that really saw big jumps were Ronald Acuna, of course, Ha-Seong Kim, Nico Horner, and Bryson Stott. Luke Raley has 14. Jose Siri has 12. And Jose Siri, if he got on base more and all of his hits weren't doubles and home runs, we'd probably see 25, 30, 35 from him. Manny Margot has 8, and Brandon Lau has 7. So just wanted to throw that nugget out there, some food for thought. Again, credit to Rob Manfred and the leaders that be up in the Major League Baseball offices for making some of these changes. And we're having more action. We're having more activity. We're having more excitement. We're having more motion. We're having more movement. And games are still being completed in a timely manner, which is really important this time of the year, because baseball has to compete with something called college football, and baseball has to compete with something called professional football. So as quickly as we can get the Rays games over, we can go to watching the Buccaneers or whoever your favorite team is out there. All right, so the Rays now have the Minnesota Twins for a 3-game set. They are first in the AL Central with a 75-68 record. I'd really like to see what a team like, I don't know, the Red Sox or even the Yankees, how they would fare in the Central, or conversely, how the Twins would fare in the AL East, because the Central certainly is not the behemoth that is the AL East as we know. But the pitching matchups are as such. Tyler Glasnow versus Sonny Gray. Interestingly, they have the exact same ERA thus far this season at 2.98. Zach Littell going up against former Rays farmhand Joe Ryan. The Rays certainly would love to have Joe Ryan in a Rays uniform, but that deal had to be made with Nelson Cruz a couple of years ago. And then game 3 of this set, Taj Bradley going up against the testy veteran of Dallas Keuchel. I'll really be curious to see how Taj Bradley fares against the Twins. Credit to him for this past weekend for staying in there and battling when you don't have your best stuff, when you get punched in the gut and you get a taste of reality. 3 home runs hit off you in a relatively short span in the same start. It's easy to wither up and just want to go home, take the ball and go home, especially as a rookie. But to battle and to find a way to keep your team in the game is really, really important for this year and going forward. The Twins, just to give them a little overview, or to give you a little overview of them, they are 12th in all of baseball in team OPS, 6th in all of baseball in home runs. They are one of the few teams in the MLB with 200 plus homers collectively. They are 7th in team ERA, and they are 7th in defensive runs saved. For what it's worth, the Rays are tied for 8th in that department, in that category. And again, this is not to look, I don't think the Twins certainly aren't the Orioles or some other teams out there, but they're a solid ball club. They're going to make the playoffs, and this is part of a tough September stretch for the Rays where they face Seattle. They have the Twins now. Then they have the Orioles. The Angels, not so much. Blue Jays, Red Sox, Blue Jays. So it's really going to be a nice barometer for the Rays of seeing what the other teams that are in playoff contention, what they bring to the table, what their pitchers do, what their defenders do, what their offensive players do, being able to learn tendencies and techniques. And I think that, maybe we looked back at it a couple months and said, oh my gosh, MLB is trying to screw the Rays. They're trying to give them a really, really difficult September stretch. And maybe there's something to be said for that, but you could also look at it a different way and say, hey, this gets the Rays prepared, and this gets the Rays knowing what they have to do to get wins and to have success against these types of ball clubs. Now you could look at it another way and say, well, the Twins will now know what the Rays bring to the table. And that's also true. But I think it's, I think the Rays, I just get a inkling and a feeling that they're able to disseminate information and disseminate scouting reports and being able to face teams in a live environment. They have that better recall in memory and knowing what to do and knowing how to attack and deploy the opponent going forward compared to some of those other opponents, just based on the types of players that the Rays bring in, very cerebral players. And we know about how cerebral the front office is. So anytime you can get looks at some of these teams down the stretch, I do think it is something that is important and that should be taken into account. So we'll see what the Rays can do. It'd be nice if they take 2 of 3 and then go and face Baltimore after that. So yeah, it's getting that time of year. Hold your attention. Keep watching Rays baseball. I know there's football in the purview. It's coming up front and center, but the Rays still are an exciting, fun team with a lot to play for. And we know how much adversity that they've overcome and all that they've battled. But I like the conglomeration of this group, certainly. And hopefully they can stay healthy over the course of the stretch run. All right. So there it is. Hope you enjoyed this, I guess, 2-part or 2-person separated episode. Ulises doing the first half of the episode, myself doing the second half. It happens on occasion. We have disparate schedules at times, and we have to do what we have to do to put an episode on for you. But the idea is for us to be able to record together as well going forward. So, all right. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.